This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning, and we take a look at the political pieces we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 4th of June 2020, and I am DM.
I am JM.
And I am GK, and in case you missed the headlines, here they are. Yeah. In the Daily Nation, Uhuru order stirs up storm over RUTO role. In the Standard, nowhere to hide. And in the Star, 117 Jubilee MPs ask Uhuru to sack Dwale. So we're back to politics. You would think Corona ended. But let us begin with the Daily Nation.
Yeah.
There was an executive order.
Yes, the president issued an executive order, number 1 of 2020, which was he issued yesterday. And in it, he directed a reorganization of government, including assigning functions and institutions amongst ministries and state departments. But he has also put in a new role designated as oversight and coordination in delivery of national priorities and flagship programs. So that is a new role that has been created.
So we expect an appointment there.
We expect an appointment there.
Okay.
But the directive in the executive order that has caused much debate is that about the presidency.
Yes, the term presidency.
Yeah.
So interestingly, Senator Kilonzo said the term presidency was used very loosely previously because it was not a term that is known in law. It was political because there's nothing called the presidency. It creates the impression as if the presidency is something that someone is holding with another person. So maybe Uhuru Kenyatta here was being nice from 2013 and calling it
and
the
making it
presidency.
collective. And maybe I can give a bit of context, or maybe Jamie will, about how in the executive order, there is a nomenclature change. The very first page where it begins says, the executive office of the president.
Yes.
Now this is different to the executive order number 1 of 2018, which this new one supersedes, where in describing the office of the president, the description there is the presidency.
Exactly.
So basically the conversation is just arising from that different, or the change in name.
Yeah, and the reality is you can only have one president, right?
Absolutely.
And maybe this is where the clash of Jubilee began. From 2013, this was the very big mistake that was made to think that this thing is collective.
Is collective.
And then,
those are the sentiments of Senator Mutula, which I find quite, sober. The more faithful term is executive office of the president, which is what it has now changed to. And then we just quote the Constitution at Article 131B. It says, the president exercises the executive authority of the Republic with the assistance of the deputy president and cabinet secretaries. So he is within his constitutional right to organize the executive as he deems fit.
But guys, are we reading too much into this?
Yes, and I think
is this name change, is it instrumental or transformative? Is it a means to an political end, or it's an end in itself? Because perhaps the president has the very rational intention of streamlining his government because he has the singular purpose that he's working towards, which is realizing his legacy, and he wants to make sure that the instruments that he has are properly aligned towards that singular purpose. But of course this is being politicized because of the context that we are in right now. My question is, does the DP's office by any other name not smell as sweet? To quote Shakespeare.
It's true. And you know what? The DP derives his function from the president. He is an assistant. He is told what to do. And so if you're told not to do anything, that is what you...
How can you take away power from authority from somebody who had none
in the first place? Well, guys, we have a 3-part criteria that we're going to use to break down the headlines. We'll ask ourselves, is it topical or speculative? Is it repetitive or groundbreaking? And is it thoughtful or just plain lazy? This one is a little bit speculative because we're not sure that there should be a storm.
And also too wordy.
And too wordy, right? So let's move to the Standard and the Star. We can do them together. Nowhere to hide, and 117 Jubilee MPs ask Uhuru to sack Dwale. Now, Dwale thought he was out of the woods. He thought he had been saved after the parliamentary group meeting in State House this week. But it turns out Kialaka MPs are still petitioning things, and 118 have signed, or 117, to have him leave as majority leader.
Yeah, and to successfully kick out Duale from the position, we're told the proponents of the ouster bid must secure the support of at least 109 MPs of the Jubilee coalition.
So they've surpassed,
exceeded it.
So they've exceeded it.
But listen, I think Duale should go. He should go, because paramount to his job, because majority leaders are supposed to hold this powerful position. They're supposed to hold brief for the president, the deputy, and the cabinet, who are not represented in the assembly. He's supposed to be that uniting factor. He's supposed to keep Jubilee together on a path of, you know, success. And what we found is that Jubilee has fallen apart under his reign, and so I think he should go. I think
there are two things here that must be considered. The ethnic arithmetic, so to speak, because you have to have some sort of ethnic balancing. So one of the reasons I believe that he was kept in there is so that, you know, the Somalis of this nation can have some sort of prominence in terms of representation at the top.
Yes, but you can't take the
and then number two, that maybe the other reason he's been kept is in line with one of the laws of the 48 laws of power, which says never put too much trust in friends, but rather learn how to use enemies. And Robert Greene says a former enemy will be more loyal than a friend because he has more to prove. And now that Duale has been given a second chance, maybe we might see him be more loyal, and unless he'll be less unlikely to backslide.
So he's going to backslide. So he's going to be the most faithful soldier of Uhuru.
Most faithful soldier.
How awkward, after he used to be the one going around saying that the BBI is going to be the end of Raila's political career, which was an indirect attack on the president. Anyway, Godspeed.
Godspeed, but Uhuru has 2 years. This is not the time to be forgiving people. You keep it moving.
Actually, GK, maybe that is precisely the point, because he has 2 years. He's very pressed to fulfill his intentions, and that is why I think he put out this executive order.
So let's see whether Duale will survive.
Be a faithful soldier.
Will he do that? So which of the headlines do we keep? It's between the Standard, Nowhere to Hide, and the Star. I like the Star. It's direct. It's telling us exactly what is going on.
That's it.
And I think it should give us...
I like the Star too.
So I will toss the other two. There we have it. The Star gives us our winning headline. Onto the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country, where we also have a 3-part criteria. We ask ourselves, is it humorous or dry? Is it satirical or pessimistic? And is it effective or just plain lazy? What shall we begin with?
The Daily Nation?
Yeah, okay, so in the Daily Nation, we have a caricature of none other than the Trump, the Donald, and he's holding up a Bible, but instead of having actual pages in the Bible, you have a matchbox, a kibiriti. And below him, in front of him, actually, are little matchsticks that haven't been ignited yet. But behind him, you can see a flume of smoke, meaning where he has come from, the block has been hot. And I think we're amidst an American revolution, it seems. You know, everything is helter-skelter. But the idea here is, you know, Trump is the master of gaslighting, right? He believes that if you repeat something enough, even if it isn't true, someone will believe him. And I think here he's saying, I'm on your side. He's peddling to middle America, who are, you know, the Christian base. He knows it's an election year. I don't know if they fell for it particularly, but we know that he has done these gimmicks before and they have worked. And he's treating the word of God as a prop.
And he's being criticized for that because people are saying that is antithetical to the message in the message that is in the Bible.
I think he would have gotten more mileage had he said a prayer, opened the Bible or something. He held it upside down, it was back to front. It just didn't make sense.
You know the effect that the Black Lives Matter protests might have by the end of the year is to get the other side of the vote, the Democrats, to come out in huge numbers, to come out and vote.
Which they didn't last time.
Because now they realize the danger of having a leader who's so reckless as Trump in office. So this might actually end up having the effect of getting or galvanizing the Democrats.
In the contrary, it may also have the same effect of galvanizing white supremacists, of galvanizing people who support Trump, because they are seeing how they're reading. You know, some people are reading the Black Lives Movement as an attack on Trump. They're actually missing the issues and saying, you see, these people working to undermine the president, and so they'll also come out in their numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. But we mustn't also forget it. In America, they have an indirect democracy. So it's not it's not the number of people who turn out to vote. It is the electoral college.
Those swing states, right? Can we keep it or toss it? We've had quite a debate, so maybe we park it for now.
Okay.
Let's move to Kaso of the Standard.
In this, Kaso brings us back to Kenya, and he has drawn something that appears to be a poster for a show, a seasonal show, and it says The Purge. Handshake presents The Purge, Season 1, coming to a party near you. And there on the left, you see the President Uhuru Kenyatta. I'm making deductions because the caricatures look nothing like the people they're supposed to represent.
Nothing.
Uhuru on the left side of Parliament, representing the Purge of the Jubilee Party, and below him RUTO, Duale, possibly Murkomen, and Kindiki. And on the right side is Raila representing the NASA Purge, and below him is Wetangula, Mumias MP Benjamin Washiali, and somebody who is irrecognizable.
The guy next to Ruto looks like the late Mark Too, actually.
It's true, but of course it's not.
Of course
him.
it's not. It's just terrible caricatures here.
Misrepresentation.
And below that it says betrayal, intrigue, suspense.
And this is of course a commentary about what we have just talked about in the headlines, which is the ongoing purges in both the NASA and Jubilee coalitions, and the hottest one at the moment being that of Duale.
Okay, so we can park that.
And in the Star, more of Trump. So we have a caricature here of Trump holding up the phone to tweet and to Facebook, wearing a mask that has been punctured by the Twitter and Facebook logos. And behind him is a flame of fire against the backdrop of a black screen representing the Black Lives Matter movement and the protests against the killing of George Floyd. And the hashtag says, I can breathe easy.
Wow.
Yes.
And his eyes look very scared.
They do. Apparently he's been refusing to wear a mask because his ratings showed that he didn't look very attractive.
Wow.
Very clever.
But yeah, perception is everything.
It is.
And
I vote for Kaso today. I think everybody who's watching Kenyan politics at the moment agrees that it is a show. In fact, not even a film, a serial show.
Yes.
So I think we don't give it to anybody, really. I mean, Kaso, yes, has a great idea, but poor execution.
I like the idea of a poster.
This guy needs to go back to art school.
So do I. I think it's a good idea. We can give him the winning cartoon and encourage him to continue mastering the art of caricature.
I gave my dissenting opinion.
There you have it. Standard gives us our winning cartoon. And what is our final thought?
And now our final thought. So this week we've been looking at conjuncture history, and we've been discussing books that have been debunking historical misconceptions. Today we are looking at the book of Why, the New Science of Cause and Effect, written in 2018 by Judea Pearl and Dana Mackenzie. So this book makes the case for a mathematical model of causation. I'll begin by giving a distinction between causation and correlation. Causation indicates that there is a relationship of cause and effect, meaning that if you have variable X, it causes Y. Correlation implies a connection of sorts between two variables, but nothing more. It can be as little as X and Y existing together at the same time, but there is no cause and effect relationship. So the author says that the authors said that there is a statement that has been repeated so many times and is widely accepted as a fact. And the statement is this: correlation does not imply causation. So they say that for this reason, the concept of causality has for many years been ignored in science. In fact, statisticians and other experts have said that causation is scientifically invalid. For this reason, causation, they say, cannot be proven and it cannot be represented as data. So you cannot say X causes Y, and this is the mathematical expression, for instance, that proves that fact. So they say that in the early 1900s, there was a very famous mathematician called Carl Pearson, who at that time was the world's leading authority on statistics. And he himself championed that notion that causation cannot be proven. He liked to prove this point by singling out some ridiculous causations. For instance, he would say, if a nation consumes more chocolate per capita, then it produces more Nobel Prize winners. Now, on the surface, this is a ridiculous assertion. And because to him there was meaningless correlation, he said that looking for causation is unnecessary. But the authors say that by ridiculing this, he missed a causation factor. So they say that it is likelier that countries that consume more chocolate are wealthier. And because they are wealthier countries, they have the resources and are more likely to produce more scientific advances. And these scientific advances, because they come from wealthy countries, are more likely to be noticed by the Nobel Prize Committee. And so they do produce more of them, more winners. So after that, I'll just speed it up. After that, scientists did prove that causation can be proved scientifically, statistically, and mathematically. And this is what the authors are calling the causal revolution.
Interesting. I like this book. It was a bit complex, but very nice. So in chapter 4, they look at why causation, right? So no matter what you're training, what you do for a living, at some point you're bound to ask yourself, you know, how things came to be the way they are, and or how they should be. And it's about dealing with, like you said, cause and effect. How do various factors lead to different results? And in looking at causation, research the world over knows that the best way to test the effect of something is through a controlled experiment. So I'll just quickly go into that. So a controlled experiment is a scientific test that is directly manipulated by a scientist in order to test a single variable at a time. It involves taking groups as similar to each other as possible and applying a test to one but not the other. And they say that this did not begin just the other day or a few decades ago. It began in biblical times. And they tell the story of Daniel. So the Babylonian king, Nebuchadnezzar, sought out some of his captured nobles of Jerusalem from his court, as was customary. And this involved educating them in the elite Babylonian diet of rich meats and wine. And, you know, they would sit and have
all those good things.
However, there were some Jewish people among them, one of them Daniel, who could not partake in this because they adhered to Jewish dietary laws. And so they suggest, so he says, can I please have something vegetarian instead? And so he suggests, so he and his 3 friends get the vegetarian diet, and then another group of boys get the king's diet. So the idea here was Ashpenaz, one of the people in the court, asks a question about causation, and he says, will a vegetarian diet cause my servants to lose weight? And so Daniel proposes this experiment. We will eat the vegetarian, they will eat the Babylonian diet of meat and wine, and after 10 days we will see what that is. Now, in modern day, we call one of the groups the control group, the ones that you either give a treatment, you don't give any special treatment at all to, and the ones who adhere to the new treatment, so the vegetarian diet. And so after all this, Daniel's group came back to Nebuchadnezzar, and they looked stunning. They were healthy, they were glowing. So much so that the king was so impressed with their wisdom and learning, not to mention their healthy appearance, that he gave them a favored place in his court, where he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were all in his realm. Now, this story is to sort of illustrate a very simple principle. To understand the causal effect of the diet, they compared what happened to Daniel on his vegetarian diet and the other group that stayed on the Babylonian one, and found that Daniel's group was much healthier. However, there's an issue, just like there's an issue even in today's controlled experiments, and that's called confounding bias. Now, this is, if you assume X, if you you think of a triangle, X is at the bottom, Y is at the other side, and Z is at the top. Z is a confounding bias. That's the variable that could mix the effects so that X doesn't automatically lead to Y. And so confounders influence both the participants and the outcome of the experiment. And so we've seen the case sometimes in controlled experiments where you control too much for variables. And this also affects the outcome of your scientific test. And so he says that the idea, or they say that the idea is that when you test a group, make sure that it is as similar as possible. So for instance, if Daniel's group were much younger than the control group, then that means obviously Daniel's group was going to flourish because they were younger. Age became the confounding factor. So when you do a scientific experiment, try and make sure you're doing a
homogeneous group.
Yeah, as much as possible. That's what I took away from it.
Reverend Jem, were those Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, Daniel's friends?
Oh my goodness.
I remember.
I can't quite recall. But one other thing they did have that the author did mention is just the favor of God.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, they had that, which also, you know, I'm sure made them look more shining and healthy
and
what
glowing.
have you, and glowing.
Amen.
And well, the author asks, how do we establish causality? And he says one way to do this is through a mediator. Now, a mediator, he says, is a variable that tells us why one factor leads to a particular result. A good example to illustrate this is the fire alarm. Houses are equipped with fire alarms to warn us if a fire breaks out, but the way they actually work is by detecting not the fire, but the smoke. So the smoke, therefore, is the signal. It's the mediator by which we know that the fire has started. But he recalls that before, you know, before the whole causality, correlation thing was understood, people would quite often misidentify causal factors. And he cautions that even today, sometimes we're prone, if we don't dig deep enough, we're prone to misidentify the causal factors. And he gives a famous case of misidentification in the case of scurvy in the 18th century. So scurvy, you might recall, was a disease that ravaged sailors during the 18th century. And today we know that it can be prevented by taking vitamin C. But in those days, when they discovered that citrus fruits are a remedy to scurvy, particularly in the year 1747, they attributed it to the acidity in the citrus fruits, not to the vitamins. And so during the British Arctic expedition of 1875, the author tells us the sailors carried lime juice that was acidic, but ultimately juice that lacked in vitamin C. And so their erroneous deduction proved deadly. The mediator had been misidentified. And so these expedition people who went on the expedition, I don't know what you call them, out of 5, only 1 came back alive. And so he says it's important to attribute causality accurately. In this case, they didn't understand how the citrus fruits work. But he also reminds us that vitamins were only discovered in the year 1912. And
so it's not really their fault.
Well, it's partly their fault. If they dug deep enough, they would have found the truth.
Oh, fantastic. Well, on a day where we had a winning headline from The Star and a winning cartoon from Castle of the Standard, I want to leave you with this from Sherlock Holmes. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. It's all elementary, my friends. But please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Find us on TV. We're on GoTV, Pang Feature and Star Times. And have a lovely evening.